Greetings, Ray audience. I'd like to thank each and every one for tuning in to the Yahweh Will broadcast. Thank you for your time, your ears, and the host for this broadcast will be Minister Derek Gooden.
Greetings unto Podcast Nation. All praises to all who can hear the sound of my voice. All praises to my Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shema, for this golden opportunity to be able to come back unto you to give you His holy words. This is Yahweh's will ministry, and it is His will for His truth to be made known. No lying, no hypocrisy, no deceiving, nothing but the pure sincerity of Father Yahweh's words. Today, nation, we're dealing with dysfunctional behavior. It is my duty to do Yahweh's will, but also as a human being, it grieves me sometimes for all of the dysfunctional acts I see going on with one neighbor against another neighbor. I find it sometimes so distasteful how human beings have no mental feelings for another human being. And this is what we find from people here on this earth, the inhabitants of the earth. Dysfunction is coming because of the state of one's mind and the condition that one's mind is. Pure hatred for another human being. Dysfunction means unable in the mind to function normally and properly. The mind is not set to do that which is normal and proper. Dysfunction is characterized by an abnormal or impaired psychosocial functioning. It's impaired by the psychosocial and function as a stable human being. All areas of life is being touched with dysfunction. Dysfunction is unhealthy in the interpersonal behavior or interaction towards another. Unhealthy behavior. Also dysfunctional is something that is flawed and just does not operate in a correct manner. Do not operate in a correct manner. You ask, why is these things happening? Why did one do this? Why can't people get along? Why is there so much hatred? Why is there so much prejudice? Why is there so many evil things being said against another? Why? Because it is of the dysfunction of a person's mind. And it deviates from the normal and acceptable social behavior. Podcast Nation, I can look out over the animal kingdom and see that they still operate from the way they were created. Their minds are still operating in the manner in which they were created. So, how can human beings say they're more intelligent than the animals? When the animals can go to the same water trough and drink from it, lay in the same wilderness and rest. And here human beings can't walk down the street without something dysfunctional happening. Abduction, rapes, robberies, murdering, all is under a dysfunctional act. It's called morbid-minded. Morbid-minded. Morbid-minded is strictly habits are caused by disease in the mind. Morbid-minded is worse than any sexual transmitted disease you can receive. Morbid-minded is worse than the COVID. Morbid-minded is a contamination that has spread from the beginning of man creation. When Father Yahweh told Adam not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of righteousness and evil, morbid entered into the world through the influences of Satan for man to rightly despise the direction of Father Yahweh to receive wickedness over righteousness. Morbid, resulting from or as form of a diseased state of the mind, having or showing an unwholesome tendency to dwell as a gruesome, gloomy mind. Gruesome, horrible, dysfunctional state. It is just simply pathological corruption. You'll never get the answer because man don't have the answer. One morbid-minded person can't help another morbid-minded person. And the infection from a morbid-minded spreads so rapidly that it contaminates other minds. That is the very reason Yahweh wanted the saints to be cautious about the atmosphere that they're in. Be cautious with conversations that they hold. His holy manuscript warns the saints about these dysfunctional minds. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verses 33. The apostle in the King James manuscript would say Apostle Paul. But in the Hebrew manuscript of Father Yahweh is Apostle Shaul. The Hebrew name is Apostle Shaul. Apostle Shaul said to the Corinthian congregation, "Do not be deceived. Bad company corrupts righteous character. If you're not cautious, nation, you will get caught up in these dysfunctional acts and don't even know you're in the spider web of morbidness." When a person talks foolish, move on from those conversations. Don't stand there and entertain them. Move on, because if not, you're going to get caught with morbid. And you're going to go to talking morbid. All Father Yahweh is doing is showing you what's within a person's mind. All he's doing is manifesting how a person thinks. And it's in the gospel. It's in the gospel. Mark chapter 7, nation. If you can't keep up with me, please write the scriptures down and go back and research yourself. Mark chapter 7, and pick me up at verse 21. Yeshua is speaking these words directly from the mouth of Father Yahweh. For from within, out of the mind of people, from their mind proceed evil thoughts. The adultery of fornication, of murders, thefts, lust, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, loving to lie, evil eyes, blaspheming, the pride of one's foolish mind, and all acts of foolishness. It's all these evil things that come from within a person's mind is what defile, contaminate that person's mind. He allowed us in your mind to come to mind. What do you mean when I say come to mind? When you are speaking from the ignorance of your mind, then my mind can receive the ignorance you're saying to know that your mind is morbid. That's why he said, remove yourself from these type of people. Because if not, you will get contaminated by their foolishness. Don't let the statue of a person deceive you. Don't give a person more credit than they rightly deserve. Don't let the flesh deceive you. Know a person by their character. Know them not by name, not by title, not by who they are saying they are, but know them directly by the mind that comes from the seat of their lack of intelligence. Their lack of intelligence. Not having intelligence, but the lack thereof. Nation, we have to understand, Father Yahweh, word does not tell lies. There is no line in Father Yahweh word. Sometimes we may say this about a person because we always try to give them what's said as the benefit of the doubt. Well, that benefit of the doubt only can go so far, nation. That benefit of the doubt can only go so far. Because you have to accept what Father Yahweh is showing you about another human being. Okay? I'm giving you two witnesses now. I'm giving you two witnesses so you can see for yourself that Father Yahweh don't lie. 1 Samuel chapter 16 and verse 7. But Yahweh himself said to Samuel, do not look at his appearance or at his height, because I have already refused him. You see, nation, Yahweh does not see things as we as human beings see them. For we look at the outer appearance and give judgment. But Yahweh looks from in the mind, the seat of intelligence, to know directly the thoughts of a person. I got another witness. 2 Corinthians chapter 5 and verse 16. This is what the Apostle Shaul, the Apostle Paul from the King James manuscript is saying. Therefore, from now on we regard no one according to worldly standards of the flesh. For indeed, we regard the Messiah according to worldly standards. Now we don't even regard him. Because when he walked upon the flesh, he was a flesh form. But now that he has ascended back to his Father's throne, he is that spiritual righteous being. We don't look at a person and judge them because we think they are this and we think they are that, or because they hold a title by man. No, it's from the characteristics of their mind that they're judged. And you ain't judging because you call an apple an apple and an orange an orange. You speak in John, Yachanan, chapter 3 and verse 11. You speak in what you know and testifying to what you see. So when you hear foolishness coming from a person, know that that is a fool. Morbid. The disease, infection of a dysfunctional mind. But the people ain't always be held accountable. Because there's another group of people that's dysfunctional, that did not live up to the quality that they was supposed to. Nation, they didn't live up to the quality that they were supposed to. And if they had stood and did the things that they were required to, it would have helped and enhanced Yahweh's righteousness for there to be a better nation and world for us to live in. I'm so sorrowful for the families that's grieving over the loss of their loved ones, marital spouses, children. You send them off to school for education. and your child come out the door, your loved one, your spouse come out the door in body bags. They walk in through the front door and get carried out in body bags. I'm grieving over that. But I understand the Father Yahweh's word is not a lie. His word have already covered that these things will happen. These things must happen because of the introduction of sin back in the Garden of Eden when man was told what not to do. And he deliberately defiled himself against Father Yahweh's ways because of the influences of the flesh, controlled by that great dragon called Satan, the devil. Deuteronomy chapter 6. Pick me up at verses 1. Deuteronomy chapter 6, nation. Pick me up at verses 1. Now these are the laws. Now, the morbid-minded have told you the laws are done away with. The morbid-minded told you the laws were nailed to the cross. The morbid-minded told you we don't have to live according to the laws anymore. Lie, lie, lie. Morbidness lies against that which is righteous, because their minds are in a state of a disease of dysfunction. Father Yahweh said, these are the laws, the statutes, and the judgments, which I, your Father, have commanded to be taught, so that you may observe them in the land that you're crossing over to possess. Whether we are in this nation or go to another nation, whichever nation we walk in, we ought to learn the ways of Yahweh, because his word was to be carried globally from nation to nation. Every nation upon this earth was to learn the ways of Father Yahweh. His laws are still enhanced, so that we may reverence Yahweh our Father by keeping all his statutes, all his laws that he commands to be taught. So our children, grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, all the days of their life, not to be taken for granted, but to be kept in order, so that the days may be prolonged. Now, we can't even get our babies out of school before they're going to the graveyard. From elementary school to middle school to high school, the cemeteries are filling up. Once upon a time, we used to say it was the elderly that was dying out, and we could count on the children being the future generation. Now in today's time, we bury more of our children than we are the elderly. The great-grands are coming to the grandchildren funerals. So hear therefore, and be careful to obey, so it may be well with us, and that we may greatly multiply, as Yahweh, the mighty Father of our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The King James manuscript would say Jacob. So that we will flow in that land with milk and honey. What's flowing in this nation about so beautiful, so clean, so wholesome, when dysfunction is from one coast to the other coast? Prejudice, the despising of another human being, is running so rapidly, so great. I told you once before, I hate, and I say this with authority, I hate to see presidential elections come about in this country. As I said in previous broadcasts, it brings out all kind of dysfunctional acts from one neighbor towards another. Disgusting, sickening to the core. You find favor with it, then you know you're morbid. You find favor, then you know you got a dysfunctional mind. You can sit up and entertain prejudice and hatred from one neighbor towards another, then you know yourself. You have been captivated and enslaved in the disease of a dysfunctional-minded person. But this ain't to be blamed only by the false hypocrites at the pulpit, because they follow in the ways of their leader. They follow in the ways of their leader like Yahweh children follow him. It's already been wrote. The book already got it. The book already covered it. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verses 4, nation. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verses 4. Listen to why there's so much morbidness upon the land today. And you hear people all the time say, I love God and I'm serving God. But they're just as dysfunctional as they can. Here it is. Here it is in the book. For the gods, Elohim meaning plural, the multitude of this world, led by Satan the devil, in control of all of this morbidness, have blinded the minds of those who do not believe. Blinded. Close their ears. Close their understanding. Close their eyes. They can't hear, they can't see, and don't understand. So that the light of the message of the majestic glory of the Messiah walking in flesh form, setting in all his Father ways, never morbid, never dysfunctional. Because he's the image of his Father, Yahweh. And he set forth the righteous examples to show us how to follow and serve Father Yahweh. But if Satan desires that light will not shine unto the lost. You've gone from the pulpit to the congregation flow, through politics to every area of life, spreading dysfunction through morbid, diseased minds. Nation, you can lay out every gun you got on the counter. If you think the minister is lying to you, you can lay out every gun you got on the counter. That gun will not kill you until the wrong hands touch it. How the wrong hands touch it? Because the mind is morbid, dysfunctional. Then it causes a person to act in an improper way. Where they used to carry books to school, now they're carrying weapons. You sitting up in the classroom and don't know if bloodshed gonna break out. The teacher sitting up trying to teach and watching at the same time. Watching the window, watching the door, watching the students. The minds are so captivated in a trauma of fear so that the jobs are not being done adequately. When you drop your child off at school, you're sitting at work, wondering if you're going to get a phone call. Nervous to hear that something may have happened. Hoping to be able to see your child again. And I tell you, it's a great blessing to see them again. Nation, the word of Yah do not lie. There's no lying in Father Yahweh's word. You hear people say all the time, I serve God, I love Jesus, I believe in the Lord, and just as morbid and defiled as they can be. Even talking about reading from the Holy Manuscript but not living nothing that it says. You see it for yourself. You hear the same words I hear. You're looking at the same news I see. Nothing on this broadcast is a lie, because you're seeing it just for yourself. All Yahweh will broadcast do is give you understanding of what you're seeing and what you're hearing. That's all. It's just giving you understanding as to what's going on not only in this country, but what's going on global-wide. Revelation chapter 12 and verses 9. The Apostle Yochanan on the island of Patmos Apostle John from the from the King James manuscript on the island of Patmos, recording what Yeshua, the Savior, was saying. That great dragon was cast out. Cast out from where? Cast out from where? That's the question that needs to be answered. Where was this great dragon cast out from? Once I identify who this great dragon is, then you'll know where it comes from. That old serpent called the devil, Satan, who deceived the whole world. She was cast out into the earth, and the angels who followed her was cast out. Nation, understand where Satan come from. Understand how the devil became the devil. You got to first know the history from where the devil came from, so you'll know why the devil is so evil and love destruction. Isaiah the prophet, Isaiah chapter 14 and verses 12. I'm going to point out 5 eyes by the power of Yahweh to show Satan's demise from when, as Hillel, standing for righteousness, went through a transformation into wickedness as Satan. Satan is a spirit. You will not stop Satan. Satan is an evil spirit flowing through the airways from a destructive manner, causing all kind of evil hectics upon people's lives. So you can stop the flow all you want. All you're going to do is hurt your own ankles and feet. Isaiah 14 and verse 12. How have you fallen from heaven, O Hillel, Lucifer, child of the light? Before the recreation of the earth, before the great flood and Genesis 1 came into existence, Hillel was the light bringer for the earth. There was no S-U-N in the sky. The majestic glory of Hillel was the light for the earth. 12 hours of the day and 12 hours of the night. How have you cut down to the ground? You who weaken the nation. Revelation 12 and 9. 2 Corinthians 4 and verse 4. Through deception, through lying wonders, through false propaganda, the nations are weakened, not standing strong at all. But it came through religion to bring the nations down. For you said in your mind, first eye, I will ascend above the heavens. Second eye, I will raise my throne above the stars of Yahweh. Third eye, I will sit in the highest place on the holy mountain of the congregation. Fourth eye, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. Fifth eye, I will be like Yahweh. I will be equal to Yahweh. I will be great as Yahweh. I will be the replacement of Yahweh. But by the power of the majesticness of the Holy Father, he destroyed and brought down Hillel to a transformation of the devil for the evil practices that we see. And Satan, as a righteous being, sat in the kingdom with Yahweh. But then, transforming into wickedness, she was brought down to hover over the earth, to spread her lies, and became the queen bee of lies. So when you hear people telling the multitude of lies, they only saying what now their wicked spiritual leader will have them to say. Go with me into the Gospel of Yahweh, chapter 8. In the King James study, it will either be John or St. John, however you want to call it. But the Hebrew name is Yahweh, chapter 8, and pick me up at verses 44. For all who tell lies, who love lies, who get off with lies in a dysfunctional way, sit here in verse 44. You are your teacher, who is Satan the devil. Whatever she who is your teacher desires, you would do, whoever you may be. Non-discriminate, gender or color, non-discriminate. Well, even whatever political office you hold, or whoever you're supposed to be in the religion realm. She is your teacher. You would do as she desires. She was a murderer from the beginning, and remained not in the truth. See, first she had to be of the truth in order now to not be of the truth. So that's where you get Isaiah chapter 14, starting at verse 12. She was once of the truth, but now she is a queen of deceit, because there is no truth in her. So therefore, when one speaks their lies and loves speaking their lies, they're speaking her words, because she, who, the devil, the great dragon, is the teacher of all lies. The teacher, the foundation of all lies. That's where we're at, nation. So that's why I said when it's time for these elections, and one loves to call out someone else's lie, but you never hear them calling out their own lie. But it is Father Yahweh who manifests all lies. He brings it all to the light. He exposes everything, because the word already said he was going to do it. There's nothing we can hide, nation, from the presence of Father Yahweh. Yachanan Mark, in the Gospel of Mark chapter 4, and pick me up at verses 22. For there is nothing hidden which will not be manifest, nor has anything been kept secret, except that it should come to light. So no matter what we as humans think we can hide, we cannot hide nothing from the presence of Father Yahweh, because his eyes sees all and his ears hear all. Scripture already covered it, nation. The book already covered it. Proverbs chapter 15, pick me up at verses 3. The eyes of Yahweh is in every place, every nation, every corner of the world. His eyes even see the ants on the ground, beholding sin, the evil and the righteous. Why his eyes can feel the whole globe of earth. Because you have to remember what kind of throne he's sitting on. Then when you know what kind of throne he's sitting on, it will give you better understanding to who he really is as a spiritual being. Isaiah chapter 66 and verses 1. This is what Yahweh says. The heavens is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. He said, the heavens is my throne, and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house you will build for me? Where is the place that my spirit rests upon my children? Because even within the names that's using Yahweh, they're defiled and contaminated. The house of worship don't even stand for what's right. You have many so-called leaders following a nut. and finding favor with it. Because they've been captivated in that deceitfulness of a dysfunctional mind, and now they're carrying that great disease of morbidness. So sad, so sad. I told you, nation, I'm grieving some. I'm grieving children as when I was a child, going to school, seeing our friends, enjoying ourselves, learning, running the playground, playing, doing the extracurricular sports together. We weren't worrying about coming home in a body bag, as so many children today is not. It didn't worry about a killer coming through the door, just long sitting up in the classroom with you. But as the times have progressed from when I was in grade school to now I am a 56-year-old man, I look back over the 10-year decade periods and see how worse the times have gotten since I graduated from high school. And when I left high school in 1986 to where I stand now at 56, I see how the times have gotten worse and worse and worse. The nation is in trouble. The nation is in trouble. I don't need to worry about who's telling a lie. I see all of the dysfunctional by the Holy Spirit of Yahweh myself. That the land is heavily contaminated and defiled. And this didn't just start 10 years ago. This didn't start under former President Trump, nor did it start under Vice President Kamala Harris. This started generations ago. So you can't blame these two people for where the world is now when it started generations ago. Isaiah chapter 24. And we're going to pick it up in verse 1. Now, this is the year 2024. This chapter of Isaiah, from the study of history, was written about 712 BY. BY means before even the coming of Yeshua in the flesh. So you're going to tell me Mr. Trump and Mrs. Harris were living back in 712 BY? Not even one of us on earth at this time was living in 712 BY. So this ain't just started. These are generations of destruction. Isaiah 24 and verse 1. Look, Yahweh make the earth empty. Who? Father Yahweh. Now remember that, because he's going to show you how he's going to make it empty. Yahweh make the earth empty and make it waste, perverse the face of it, and scatters abroad the inhabitants, the people of the earth. It will be, as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with the owner, as with the maid, so with the mistress, as with the buyers, so with the sellers, as with the lenders, so with the borrowers, as with those who take interest in usury, so with him who give usury interest to others. The land will be utterly empty, utterly plundered, for Yahweh has spoken it, and he does not lie. It's a reason this is going to happen. This is a prophecy that is coming to pass. And it is a great reason why Father Yahweh will allow this to happen. Let's start unraveling the reason in verse 4. Isaiah 24 and 4. Let's start unraveling the reason for the the global destruction that is coming. The earth moans and fade away. The world moans and fade away. The host of people of the earth will languish. They will moan. No one is greater than Father Yahweh. Because the earth is defiled under the inhabitants of it. Because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant. Why did this happen? Why and how? That's the question. Back in the book. The answer is always in the book. I don't give my philosophy on nothing. I let the book speak. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verses 4. For the gods Elohim of this world, led by Satan, have blinded the minds of those who do not believe, so that the light of the message of the glory of the Messiah, who is the image of Yahweh, shall not shine unto them. For the devil deceives the whole world. And who did she use to do this deceiving? Who did she use to cause Yahweh's wrath now to come to destroy the earth? Who was those group of people that we were looking up to, thinking that they were leading us righteously, thinking that they was walking righteously, and they were nothing but lying wonders themselves? Let the book speak. Let the book speak. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, pick me up at verse 13. But such are false apostles, deceitful workers, transforming themselves into the apostles of the Messiah, taking the ministry and turning it into nothing but a circus. And the preachers are nothing but this main character of the ringmaster clowns. They're clowns. Nothing about righteousness is worth a circus. And it's no marvel, for Satan herself is transformed into an angel of light. So therefore, no great thing if her ministers are transformed. Her apostles, her prophets, her evangelists, her pastors, her teachers, as the ministers of righteousness, transformed it, disguised it, not as is, but pretending to be. Who will be according to their works. No man by the flesh. 2 Corinthians 5 and 16. No man by worldly standard. No matter what the title may say, know them by their character. Is an apostle so-and-so, prophet so-and-so, evangelist so-and-so, pastor so-and-so, teacher so-and-so. Nothing but ringmaster clowns. Now it's Father Yahweh from Mark 4:22, manifesting who these people are. You see them for what they really is. Some you didn't even know was in love with the same sex. They pastoring you and living the same sex. How can they teach you righteousness and they live an abominated life? That's dysfunction. The pastor males loving other men. The pastor women loving other women. That is dysfunctional, nation. Earth is defiled because of the transgression of the breaking of Yahweh's laws. Because these very laws that Yahweh command us to live by, Deuteronomy 6, verse 1 and 3, was lied to us and said we didn't have to do them because they were done away with. And how many times did we ourselves say these same things? Oh, our pastor said the laws are done away with. We don't have to live by the law. That was nothing but Satan's desire. So now back to Isaiah chapter 24. And pick me up now at verse 5. The earth is also defiled under the inhabitants of it because they transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, and broken the everlasting covenant, the everlasting agreement that therefore the inhabitants of it, and few would be left. What type of burning going to be so devastated that only a few would be left. Now, let's calculate the way mankind. You remember when they were doing the census, and they was counting the people state by state, nation by nation, the census report. So it's been estimated that there's about 7 billion people upon the earth. That's about a rough calculation of the estimate. Now, not with the missiles, not with the tomahawk bombs, but there's a big boy coming. It's called the nuclear bomb. And when it's dropped, it's a bomb of devastation. The valley that looks so beautiful and pleasant, it will be wiped out. The study is coming. Yahweh's Will broadcast will cover it. We're going to go into the nuclear blast. And I will show you in the scriptures. It has already been prophesied. It has already been prophesied in Yahweh's holy manuscript about the nuclear weapons. The nuclear weapons are already in place. It's for a certain time period when they were dropped. We'll lose an estimate of 6 billion of our neighbors globally. Over 6 billion people will be destroyed when these nations releases their nuclear arsenal. This is because of the breaking of Father Yahweh's laws. Satan told you the world is glamorous. She told you to sell your soul for all that she can give you. She told you to live luxury and all because of her giving. Yahweh said, because one will not obey him and walk in his ways, the hell of destruction is coming. America is not that glamorous nation to other nations. America is not looked at as the queen she used to be. America's skirt has become very defiled. You go into the book of Lamentation, Lamentation chapter 1, pick me up at verses 8. Lamentation chapter 1 and verses 8. Now, what happened to Jerusalem is going to happen now to America. All you do is just switch the names around. History shows the catastrophic disasters to Jerusalem. Just like what Yahweh did to the great city of Babylon, never to let it be rebuilt, destroyed. So now as we look here in Lamentation, history is repeating itself, but there's nothing new under Yahweh's created Son. The nation has grievously sinned. Therefore the nation is as a wanderer. And all who used to once honor this nation and had great respect for this nation is coming to despise this nation because they have seen the nakedness of this nation. Yes, she groans as one weeping and turns away. The nation uncleanness is defiled with all kind of acts of abomination that Father Yahweh despised. Same-sex marriages, same-sex lovers, pedophiles, raping the children, bestiality, laying with the beasts, incest, laying with your own family members, murdering, physical, and speaking it from the tongue. All kind of wickedness. Father Yahweh despises it. Yes, she does not remember even her future. Therefore, the nation is coming down astonishingly fast. And who will be there to comfort them? You talking about allies? Where will Yahweh allow our allies to be on that day of devastation? Then Yahweh looked upon their afflictions, because the enemies are behaving so proudly of their destruction on this nation. That's why you want to talk about the immigrants at the borders. What borders? Yahweh is allowing all this to happen. There's over 80,000 people a week coming in the United States because Father Yahweh is allowing it to happen. He's given this land to the enemies because we failed it to walk and keep his laws and in his ways. You can't stop what Father Yahweh is doing. People, don't be caught up in dysfunction. Don't let these morbid-minded words deceive you. That is because of the borders and the people coming through the borders that there's so much crime in America. That is a lie. You see who killing who in America? There wasn't no foreigners shooting up the schools. There wasn't no foreigner. That was another classmate. Texas, Oklahoma bombing. Then here was American soil people. Americans raping Americans, brutally attacking them, robbing, stealing. You watching it on your home camera who's breaking into your cars. Americans destroying Americans, but they want to blame it all on the foreigners because of dysfunctional minds. Father Yahweh is allowing our neighbors from other nationalities to come to this nation and take it over. I told you before who runs America. You see it every day, where you buy your gas, where you buy your food in the different markets, who even working in the butcher shops, preparing the food, who slaughtering the meats, who doing the lawn service, the in-house cleaning, who's sitting at the CEOs of these different companies. Father Yahweh is allowing all this to happen. When we stop to get our food on the road, who working behind the counters is us, Americans. Who owns the business is our foreign neighbors. Yahweh is allowing this to happen. The laws that they told us was done away with is the same laws manifest right now in our face. Nation, don't be deceived. Don't let these liars deceive you. Don't let these liars play with you. Nation, please don't let these liars play with your intelligence. Please. We're coming with a part 2 on this. We're coming with a part 2. We're coming with a part 2 because this is so critical. This dysfunctional behavior is so critical. It's not to be taken lightly. Our nation is as a sham before other nations. We are not respected as we once were. And anytime a person that's supposed to be of a role model disrespecting another country on their eating, you know there's dysfunction. Regardless of what my neighbor may eat, they still my neighbor. And with all that's going on in this country and all the lies that are being told in this country, you don't know what's going on at them food treatment plants where they preparing the meats, cutting up the meats. We don't know what they add into the meats. All we know is what the label says on the meat. We don't know what is in the meat. We don't know what all ingredients is in the meat. So don't talk about another nation and their eating when you don't even really know what you're eating. Come on, nation. Open your eyes, please. Yield to the power of Yahweh, not man. Don't insult another nationality. That's wrong. They are our neighbors. All of us created from Genesis 3 and 19. From dust we came. Dust we going back. Whether you're in earthquake, whether you put in the crypt, or whether you go to the crematory, we all turning back to dust. So who has the right to insult another? Only a morbid-minded person will despise and hate their neighbor because they don't have the intelligence on how to love and appreciate Father Yahweh's creation. This Minister Gooden of Yahweh's Will broadcast. I'm a spiritual mailman that give it as it is. Coming back with a part 2. We coming back with a part 2, nation. You may correspond with me, Minister Derek Gooden. Post Office Box 150027, Atlanta, Georgia 30315. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to today's broadcast. I do hope the message was inspiring to you, and I do hope that Yahweh will continue to be with you and bless your understanding until the next broadcast of Yahweh's Will with Minister Derek Gooden.